Watertown has a meeting tonight. It is Monday, 18th day of August, and Lisa Ruggiero will be the council person leading the meeting tonight in the absence of the mayor. So we have Councilmember Ruggiero here to talk about the agenda. So thank you for coming in.
You're very welcome.
Great to see you.
Same here.
Let's talk about one of the agenda items here. It's a resolution with traffic signals. If people pay attention to this sort of stuff, there are some signals in the city of Watertown that have about maybe the technology is 40 years old, and this is a chance to update that stuff. To your knowledge, what does this do? And it's really not a lot of money to the city because you have the funding behind it, right?
Correct. CHIPS money is certainly going to be paying for a portion of this, and of the 106, there's 106,000 roughly that is the cost. The city's paying about 26,000 for it. So it will help upgrade these intersections. There's four that we're discussing tonight. And as you said, 40,000 or 40 years is a long time to not upgrade something, especially with the way traffic is these days. And we've been working on updating some of the signals and the timing sequences around the city. A couple years back, we did do that with a lot of them because the South Massey and Arsenal intersection sometimes would back up during the day. And so some of these intersections such as that went through a study of timing the sequence of the lights to make it a lot better for motorists. So, but this is sort of a continuation of improving the traffic lights in the city.
Yeah, and some of the intersections, it would be Mill Street and West Main. You said Stone Street and South Massey.
Right.
Another one was over on Washington.
Oh, yeah, Paddock and Winslow, right, that
Winslow.
traffic light there.
So they're not necessarily the downtown ones. The ones that have been done before are the ones right in downtown. And another important thing with this, as they deal with upgrading the technology with the lights, on the ground, it also makes them ADA, right? So does that take away curbs, and that makes it so that they're road level, so people in scooters or chairs or anything, they can get up onto the sidewalks,
exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And the city's been doing that now. They do so many every year to be able to get to the point where every intersection is ADA compliant. But in this particular case, these four traffic light areas will have, if they don't already, will have these ADA ramps built to help with pedestrian safety, but also to make sure we are ADA compliant. And some of these intersections are very busy intersections, so we want to make sure that pedestrians can get across safely.
And the improvements will be seen. I mean, downtown, before the latest improvements were made to the lights, you would sit there at some of the lights, and you'd have to wait for it to cycle through. And now it's like you pull up to the light knows that you're there, and it will just cater to you if you're alone at the intersection.
Yes, and ideally that would be wonderful if that was everywhere, because I've seen it too, especially if you're at night and you see the light and it you trigger it and it will turn green for you. So it would be great if they all were like that, but they're working on it.
Getting there.
Yes.
Getting there. So that'll come up tonight for a vote. Likely will pass. Not a lot of dollars for the city of Watertown. Here's one that will spark some conversation again tonight. Probably is repealing a local law, and this would essentially allow the city of Watertown to have cannabis dispensaries operate within the city. It was back during the debate for the primary and the council election, which you brought up the fact that the reason that this was voted against in the beginning is because once you opt into this, you cannot opt out. And so it was opt out for now, according to what this council wanted to do, and learn a little bit, I imagine, and see how it works. And now we're talking about, the city is talking about allowing dispensaries to be in the city. So this will come up tonight. Any idea how this will go? You only have 4 votes tonight, right?
Right. And actually tonight is just to set the public hearing for the next council meeting in September. So
no vote really on
there
the
won't
issue.
be a vote. It's just, somebody needs to, make the motion to schedule it in a second, and then we get the hearing scheduled. It'll be at the September meeting. But I think it's important to point out why I think it was necessary to wait, because so many of the rules and regulations hadn't been finalized, 3-4 years ago when we were discussing this. But the other thing is, right now you have 12 dispensaries in New York State. that are suing the state because they set the terms in terms of where they can locate their business, and now the state's coming back saying they're too close to schools and that they shouldn't be there, even though the state signed off on it. So it shows that they still don't quite have everything together, but I think they're better at it. The other thing that we already did was to ask both the Sheriff Pete Barnett to see if there were any issues so far in Jefferson County, but also the officer in charge in West Carthage was asked if there were any issues with the dispensary there, and he said absolutely not, that they're actually working together because the dispensary has good security, good cameras, and so forth. And the Sheriff Barnett mentioned that early on there were a couple alarm issues just because they were new and they were setting off the alarms. The employees were unintentionally, but I think there's just been a couple of disgruntled customers over the last year, and that was it. So I think, and that's out in the town of Pamelia. Mm-hmm. So that to me is very good to know, because at least they're not indicating any rise in crime, and that's important to note that. Some council members were asking for that information.
So for this to move forward, you have to do the public hearing vote tonight. So what does the vote have to be on that to move forward with the public hearing? Just a majority, so it'd have to be at least 3 votes?
Yes.
Okay. Any concerns that you won't get that tonight? Or?
I don't think so, because I think most on council believe that by setting the public hearing, you're allowing the public to be able to speak.
Yeah.
And I think that's important that they have that opportunity when you're trying to either create or repeal a local law, that you allow that to happen. And so it'll be good to know what people's concerns are, or people may say it's about time. And the other thing, too, to really point out is the revenue that the city is missing. Granted, I think people are concerned about what might this do to the city, but it seems like every corner you go, there's a smoke shop already. And so these are very strictly run and managed. I mean, when you look at the operations of some of these places, I mean, the state has their terms of what they're expecting people to do when and if they own and operate a dispensary. So I think that at least tonight, I think there should be enough support to set the public hearing, and then at the September meeting, we'll have that discussion, see what the public says, and we'll see what happens. But it's important to point out, as the city is always looking for sources and revenue streams, that this is something that we really need to look at.
And you got to balance that with the public health concerns, if there are some would say that there are. And I know that Anita Sigfrid-Brown from Pivot has come into City Council and expressed some concern.
Yes.
I know you respect her opinion, but how do you balance that?
I absolutely do. Well, I think the thing is that if the city is able to dictate where these are because of the zoning, so I think that's a good thing for people to realize. But I understand what they do, and I think that they have been making great strides. Actually, the sheriff pointed out that he observed the type of patrons that were going into one shop, and he said they seemed like your average, probably middle-aged person going in that might have gotten out of work or whatever, that there wasn't anything to him that I think was alarming based in his letter. So I think it's important to let this go forward. Let the people who want to put one in, they're going to have a lot of hoops to jump through, and it's going to take them probably a year to 2 years to even be able to get their doors open because of all that's involved in the process.
Mm-hmm. And the gentleman that came up from Pulaski a couple of weeks ago from a shop in that village, he too said his clientele was, as you're saying, maybe middle-aged and just kind of cleared the picture a little bit for you. Anything surprising out of what he said to you?
No, not at all. Not at all. And I think the fact that we have law enforcement that are not reporting any issues at all from these, no crime, no burglaries, nothing like that. And so I think that that's what we have to look at. And if we have the opportunity to bring in maybe another 200, 300,000 dollars a year in sales tax revenue. I look at it as that's possibly a 2 to 3% less of a tax increase.
Sure.
And that's what people probably should look at. We hear people saying, well, we don't want our taxes to go up. No, we don't want marijuana. Well, we got to find some solutions to bridge the gap. And I think that this is, and as I've been strong about before, is having the city pick up, refuse collection with commercial properties to try to gain some revenue there. So we have to think outside the box, and I thought it was time that we go back and revisit this.
Another resolution that's going to come up tonight is authorizing limited waiver of attorney-client privilege and testimony by former Harris Beach Murtha attorneys and ethics proceeding against Councilmember Cliff Olney. I guess describe to us where we are with this. What does it mean tonight, and how do you think the vote will go?
I think what it means is that, well, number one, we have to have a vote to even remove it from the table. If there is a vote to remove it from the table, or if there's a first and a second, and depending on how the vote goes, if it's a tie, it's done.
Right. It
So
doesn't
that's
come
a
off the table.
possibility.
So
No.
yeah, let's explain that a little bit. That when something is tabled, it moves it to the next meeting, and you have to take it up at the next meeting. Is that right?
That's my understanding.
You have to decide whether to leave it on the table, or actually, that's wrong. You have to either bring it off the table or it goes away.
That's correct. And I know I was, asking the city manager on Friday if there was anything I needed to know ahead of today, tonight's meeting. And he mentioned about this and talking with the city clerk about the procedure. And we had one before where that happened. I think we took it off the table. I think it was the second time. And I thought at that time we were told if we tried to table it again, that would be the end. I have to clarify that because the city manager said he thought it could still come back. I personally don't think it can, but I need to verify that. But either way, so if it comes up and nobody wants to remove it from the table, or if there's 2 votes to do it and 2 votes not to address it, then it could die there. If there are votes to bring it off the table and then we have a discussion and then we vote on it, it just depends. It could be either 3-1 or 2-2. If it's a tie, it would die.
But at issue here, if it does come off the table, is whether or not the proceedings against Councilmember Olney continue in regards to the ethics complaint against him. Do you feel that? How do you feel about the ethics complaint against Mr. Olney? Should it? I mean, that's a loaded question, right?
No,
and we could talk for hours on that.
There's a lot.
Sure,
there's
sure
a lot
there is.
to that, because I originally voted for the hearing to take place because Councilman Olney said he wanted that, because he wanted his time to be able to address that. But I think now, as time has gone on, and now that we see how much the legal bills are, that without even having a hearing, that it's well over $70,000. I think to have a hearing, to go forward with these other 2 law firms that would be involved, I think it could easily be another $40,000-$50,000. And when you get to the point where, okay, what do you really get out of it? The complaints to me are nothing, because one of them, all it was he was interviewed by the media asking who would he vote for on the law firm, who would he pick, and he just gave his opinion. That's one of the complaints, and I think that's crazy. The other thing is that, and I'm not happy with Councilman Olney on, is that back when former Mayor Smith was mayor, I have a list of at least 7 instances where he violated his ethics, such as releasing the golf ball demand letter before Mr. Lundy even got it. He released it to a third party who immediately put it out on social media, and that came right out of executive session. The other time was when we were still negotiating the purchase of the golf course. No decisions had been made yet. He came out of executive session and said, oh, we have an offer and it's north of the cost of a pool. That's an ethics violation. I mean, there are numerous things. Even the appraisal letter that a former attorney, Bob Sly, sent to us was marked attorney-client privilege. You have to have a majority to waive that. He didn't. He took it and put it out, sent it out to the media. You know, that's another instance. I have at least 6 or 7 times that he did things, to me, I think are far worse than Councilman only talking to the media to say, yes, I would really vote for this law firm over the other one. Mm-hmm. I personally think it's overkill. We're done with it. People are sick and tired of it. I've heard from so many people that are like, stop wasting the money. That money could have gone somewhere else. That money could have reduced our tax increase this year close to 1%. It could have been, whether we had the votes or not, that money could have been used to open the Altieri pool this year. I look at all these things it could have been used for this year, but we've gotten nowhere. And this all started without a resolution, without a vote. The same thing with the police investigation. No resolution, no vote at all. And even when it first started, we weren't, council members weren't named in it. We were never even told that. We never saw those letters that were how things started. But I think the other thing is there's other instances too, like the money where a woman paid, for unpaid taxes on the Main Ave property. Then she wanted her money back. No resolution, no vote on allowing her to have her money back. So these are the concerns I have, and these are the things that people should look at. Our form of government is a city manager form of government, but when you look at some of these actions that have been happening, still are happening, they're acting as if it's a strong mayor type of government, and we're not.
Back on the beginning of the $19,000, which started the legal bills against the city for the ethics complaint, no resolution was taken, no vote was taken, as what you're saying. The city manager and past city manager would argue that they have the right to start those bills because they're the department head of the legal department. So they're within their rights to do that. City charter also has a little bit of language where it says that the city manager can direct the legal to do. Do you not agree with that? You think a vote should have been taken?
I think it should have been, or at least council should have been informed of that.
So after he said yes to it, the council should have been told, hey, we're doing this.
Should have, because I have to go back and look whether we even knew that he was calling for an emergency meeting of the ethics board. But when you look at the timing of everything and how it went, it was rushed because it was 1 week left that Attorney Ballard would be the city attorney. And I look at that whole process, it was flawed. His firm, Harris Beach, should have been recused from the whole thing. Attorney Ballard wrote the complaint. He wrote it up for former Mayor Smith. That's the problem I have with it, is he took it upon himself to have the attorney do that started everything. So just from the time of the attorney writing up the complaint and presenting it to the ethics board, then coming out of that meeting and writing the findings, that was essentially $19,000. We didn't know about any of that until I think the FOIL requests were happening. I want to say whenever that came out, was it just either early this year or late last year? So it was all after the fact. So I think that part of that is what I have a problem with, but Harris Beach was named in one of those ethics complaints, but they refused to recuse themselves. I think they had a big conflict of interest. Bonashenik and King rightfully recused themselves because they're named in one of the complaints.
If this doesn't make it off the table tonight and it just goes away, does that upset you?
No. I personally, I don't think that this will upset anyone, and it really shouldn't upset anyone. I think people are tired of it. They're probably tired of ethics and councilmen only being in the headlines because that's all that's been going on. And meanwhile, aside from this, there is so much more going on in the city in terms of different things, different projects and so forth, that haven't been the focus, that people probably don't see it because of all the focus on this. And I think I would be happy to see it go away. I think it's been a waste of money, and to see what's happened, and it hasn't gotten us any information. We haven't gotten any further ahead in determining anything. And I think Councilman Only has explained so many times what the actual violations were, and I think he's explained it publicly. I think people could care less. He's, I know he's doing a write-in campaign, but I mean, he came in last during the primary, so I don't think people will be seeing him next year. So
the return on investment here for the city of Watertown with either $70,000 to $100,000, just let it go away.
What else can you do? Do we keep throwing money after this, and still, what are we going to get? Even if he was written up and say, hey, don't do that again, by the time that might happen, could be the end of the year anyway. So why?
And you think he's out of office anyway?
I think so. I mean, no offense to him, but I don't see it happening that he is going to be able to move forward.
Last question, talking about write-in campaigns. Is that in the future for you? Because you're not in the top four. You are somebody with a lot of experience on council. I know that you have that pride of serving the community of Watertown. Will you do a write-in campaign or not, or haven't you made up your mind?
Honestly, I have not made up my mind. I've had people ask me. I've had people say, I'm not happy with the candidates that are moving forward. Can I write your name in? We have a former mayor that is kind of saying, what are you going to do? And, maybe you should. And so I will say this, if people did, and again, I don't have high hopes of, I'm realistic, unlike Councilman Only.
Write-in campaigns don't work.
They don't work. And I would like to know what the secret is to make it work, because Ogdensburg did it.
Right.
But I would like to know how you really do that to make it work. But I will say, if by some miracle something happened that I would return, I would be honored to continue serving. So that passion has not gone away.
You could run again.
That's true, because there is an election in 2 years, and there will be 3 seats available, 2 council seats and the mayor's slot.
And you ran for mayor once before. So
I did, but we'll have to see if people really want me back. I think it might be good to take a 2-year break, and maybe people might say, oh, geez, we really miss her and her knowledge and knowing when to speak up. That's one thing that people have told me more than anything. They appreciate the questions that I ask, because I think they're at home, if they're watching the meetings, that they're like, yes, I would ask that. I would want to know that answer. And I think that's the thing. I don't ask questions just to be heard. I want some things to be addressed either with our attorney or with our city manager, possibly department heads. I think it's very important to ask questions just so that the public knows, but also to help me as well, because after 8 years, I'm still learning. But there is a long learning curve, and people don't realize that. I know that some council members have said, it could be 2 years, or more, that it probably would take to really understand the process and how everything works, how each department works, and to have that memory of institutional knowledge, such as what happened 6 years ago, to be able to say, oh, I know what happened here. This is how it went, and this is where the money went, or something like that for a road project. So yes, I have enjoyed it, but I've also enjoyed helping people. I have residents that move, or will contact me to help move their situation, ahead with city government, because they feel they're not being heard.
So looking into that crystal ball, I don't really see you saying that the write-in campaign will work if you were to choose that, but it may say, hey, in 2 years, Lisa Ruggiero could be back, maybe not just as a council person, but maybe a run for mayor.
Well, we'll see. It obviously depends on what happens between now and then, and you just never know. I mean, and as they say, never say no, because I don't know. I mean, I have to see how people are receptive to me in 2 years. And yes, I think I only missed it by 40 something votes on being in the 4th place. And I was looking forward to continuing on and having more debates and having more discussion about the city issues. So I hope with the candidates that are left, that we hear that. But I'm concerned where some of them may be going. You talked earlier about the money spent on ethics. $1 million was spent on fighting the fire department. The city did not get anywhere, nothing to show for it. And I think some candidates are talking about, well, maybe we need to revisit that. But they don't realize the highest court in New York State settled that.
The city has fought that fight.
Yes.
Great to see you.
Great to see you
Appreciate
too, and
your
thank
time.
you.
Okay.